Welcome to your Ielts learning channel. Ielts Reading Test April 23, 2022. Global warming in New Zealand. New Zealand is expected to warm by about 3 degrees Celsius over the next century. The northern polar regions will be more than 6 degrees Celsius warmer, while the large continents, also the largest centers of population, will be 4 degrees Celsius or warmer. In contrast, the Southern Ocean, which surrounds New Zealand, may warm by only 2 degrees Celsius. The sea will act as an air conditioner, and in this aspect, New Zealand's location is comparatively fortunate. Any predictions are complicated by the variability of New Zealand's climate. The annual temperature can fluctuate as much as 1 degree Celsius above or below the long-term average. The early summer of 2006-07, for instance, was notably cool, thanks in part to the iceberg that drifted up the east coast. A few months later, warm water from the Tasman Sea helped make May 2007 unusually hot. These variables will continue unaffected so that, although the general pattern will be for rising temperatures, the warming trend may not be uniform. The ocean to the south of New Zealand will have one important effect. As the world warms, the Great Bank of west winds that circle Antarctica will become stronger. This has already been observed, and its impact on New Zealand is likely to be profound. Stronger, more frequent west winds will bring increased, sometimes catastrophic rainfall to the west coast of the country, and create drier conditions in some eastern regions that are already drought-prone. At the same time, the general warming will spread south. Furthermore, in the drier regions, the average moisture deficit, that is, the difference between the amount of water in soils available to plants and the amount plants need for optimum growth, will increase. Soils could go into moisture deficit earlier in the growing season, and the deficits could last longer into autumn than at present. What we think of today as a medium-severity drought could be an almost annual occurrence by the end of the century. One direct consequence of warmer and shorter winters will be a reduction in snow cover. The permanent snow line in the mountains will rise, while snow cover below this will be shorter-lived. The amount of snow that falls may actually increase, however, even in some northern centers, owing to the intensification of precipitation. Skifield Base Station may eventually have to be moved upwards to be within reach of the new snow line, but there could still be plenty of the white stuff up there. There will also be a marked impact on New Zealand's glaciers. Over the last 100 years, the glaciers have been reduced by 35%, although since 1978 increased snowfall has offset the effect of warming. The latest studies conducted by the National Institute for Water and Atmospheric Research, NIWA, however, suggest that by the end of the century, warming over the southern Alps could be significantly greater than over the rest of the country. Sea levels around New Zealand have risen by 25 centimeters since the middle of the 9th century and by 7 centimeters since 1990. Predictions for the coming years cover a wide range, however, partly because of unknown rises resulting from the melting of the ice in the Arctic, Greenland, and Antarctica. In addition, sea level at any given time is affected by many different factors, one of which is called storm surge. When it coincides with a high tide along low-lying coastal areas, this bulge raises the tide higher than normal, creating surge not unlike a slow-motion tsunami. Not only does a rise in sea level increase the potential for resort damage, but it also has less immediate impacts. One potentially grave outcome is that groundwater systems may become contaminated with saltwater, spoiling them for the irrigation of farmland, which in turn could diminish crop harvests. Similarly, over time, estuaries may be enlarged by erosion as tidal influences reach further upstream, altering the contours of whole shorelines and initiating further unforeseen consequences. The impacts these changes will have on New Zealand are difficult to generalize. Human systems are better able to adapt to change than natural ecosystems because humans can see a problem coming and plan a response. Farmers and horticulturalists have made considerable advances, replacing crops they grow to better suit the new conditions. However, plant breeders will need to show considerable ingenuity if they can overcome the acute water shortages that are forecast. For natural ecosystems, the rate of change is crucial. If it is low, the plants and animals and fish will be able to keep up. If it is high, only the most adaptable species, those that can survive in the widest range of ecological niches, are likely to survive. Species adapted to only a narrow range of conditions or food sources will find adaptation much more difficult. Take tuatara for instance, their sex is determined by the temperature at which the eggs are incubated in warm, currently above 22 degrees Celsius, condition become predominantly male, and now males already outnumber females by nearly 2 to 1 in some island refuges. In the mountains, as the permanent snow line moves upwards, the tolerance zones of some alpine plants and animals may simply disappear. It should also be remembered that global warming is just that, a global phenomenon. New Zealand's own greenhouse emissions are tiny, around 0.5% of the global total. Even if New Zealanders were to achieve the government's target of carbon neutrality, this would have no discernible impact on global climate change. The changes that global warming is going to bring to New Zealand during the 21st century are going to be significant, but where the country is likely to be most vulnerable is with respect to climate change elsewhere. New Zealand may warm more slowly than most places, but if its major export markets undergo damaging change, the economic impact will be severe. Questions 27 to 32. Choose the correct letter. Write the correct letter in boxes 27 to 32 on your answer sheet. 27. What is the main idea of the first paragraph? The temperature in the polar region will increase less than that in New Zealand in the next century. The weather and climate of New Zealand are very important to its people because of its close location to the polar region. The air condition in New Zealand will maintain a high quality because of the ocean. The temperature of New Zealand will increase less than that of other regions in the next 100 years because it is surrounded by sea. The answer is D. 28. What is one effect of the wind belt that circles the southern oceans? New Zealand will have more moisture in winds in summer. New Zealand needs to face droughts more often in hotter months in a year. Soil water will increase as a result of weakening moisture in the winds. Agricultural production will be reduced as a result of more rainfall in other seasons. The answer is B. 29. What does moisture deficit mean to the grain and crops? The growing condition will be very tough for crops. The growing season of some plants can hardly be determined. There will be a huge gap between the water plants needed and the water the earth can offer. The soil of grain and crops in New Zealand reached its lowest production since the 1970s. The answer is A. 30. What changes will happen to the skiing industry due to the global warming phenomenon? The skiing station may lower the altitude of skiing. Part of the skiing station needs to move to the north. The snowfall may increase in part of the skiing station. The local skiing station may likely to make a profit because of the snowfall increase. The answer is C. 31. Cumulative changes over a long period of time in mass balance will lead to alterations in the volume and thickness of glaciers. Faster changes in internal deformation and basal sliding. Bigger length of glaciers. Retreat of glacier tongues as a result of a change in annual atmospheric conditions. The answer is A. 32. Why does the writer mention Niwa in the sixth paragraph? To use a particular example to explain the effects brought by glacier melting. To emphasize the severance of the further loss of ice in Mt. Cook region. To alarm the reader of the melting speed of glaciers at a uniform rate. To note the lake in the region will disappear when it reaches the glacier bed. The answer is A. Questions 33 to 35. Complete the summary below. Choose no more than 2 words from the passage for each answer. Write your answers in boxes 33 to 35 on your answer sheet. Research data shows that sea level has a close relationship with the change of climate. The major reason for the increase in sea level is connected with high tides. The answer to question 33 is high tides. The increase in sea level is also said to have a threat to the underground water system, the the destruction of which caused by the rise of sea level will lead to a high probability of a reduction in agricultural production. The answer to question 34 is agricultural production. In the long run, New Zealanders may have to improve the coastal boundaries if they want to diminish the effect change in sea levels. The answer to question 34 is coastal boundaries. Questions 36 to 40. Do the following statements agree with the claims of the writer in the reading passage? In boxes 36 to 40 on your answer sheet, please write yes, no, or not given. 36. Farmers are less responsive to climate change than agriculturists. The answer is not given. 37. The agricultural sector is too conservative and deals with climate change. The answer is not given. 38. Turtle is vulnerable to climate change. The answer is yes. 39. Global warming is going slowly, and it may have different effects on different areas in New Zealand. The answer is yes. 40. New Zealand must cut carbon dioxide emission if they want to solve the problem of global warming. The answer is no. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe your channel.